there's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Okay, where is this on your property?
In my backyard. I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually, we're terrified of it.
So there's 2 people or 2 subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes, like I can't explain it, and big mouth. They're shiny eyes, and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Today we have a special guest with us, Scott Roeder, the crime scene reconstruction expert from Ohio, and he's here to talk about a recent proposition that he had made to the noted UFO debunker Mick West, and he didn't accept it, and I think that tells us everything we need to know. Because he was offered a sum of money, and that wasn't enough of an inducement to make him look at that, to provide an analysis to Scott Roeder. And Scott Roeder right now, he's actually providing. He's been busy right now, and he's joining us via audio only today, and he has a lot of running around to do. And but I thank you for taking the time out, Scott, to talk about what just happened over the weekend.
Absolutely, Jim. Good to be here as always. I love your show, ET Reality. You and I have worked closely on the Las Vegas case over the last year. You've been integral in, getting the word out there about this case, about the reality of it. And, I think part of what we were, trying to do was to get people in the UFO disclosure community or to take a look at this case seriously. We offered this case up to, the likes of Richard Dolan, Jeremy Corbell, Ross Coulthart, and many of those other folks. And then we even reached out to debunkers like Mick West and said, take a look at what we've done. We're welcoming a critical analysis of our report. I've issued what I'm calling an expert report, which I gave over to you. So I think, going to post it for everybody to download and take a look at it for themselves. Listen, the proof is in the pudding. We're confident that we've done good work and that it stands on its own feet, and it is to a degree of scientific reliability in as far as much as it within my area of expertise to opine on what I believe happened to the Gomez family that was recorded on video.
Yeah, obviously, after all this time, no one has stepped forward and even attempted, basically, not even, there's been no attempt by anyone to scientifically refute the findings that you put forth earlier this year. Actually, it started last year, I would say the summer of 2023. I think it was June when you initially identified the being that chased them out of the yard. And it wasn't until earlier this year in March when I was contacted by one of my subscribers, Julia June, who pointed out the head over the fence. And then that's when things really finally broke open, where you were able to prove scientifically, along with members of your team, that there was, in fact, no question about it, something there that defies explanation.
Absolutely. It's the totality of the evidence that we have to focus in on. It's not just the footage by the Gomez family, formerly known as the Kenmore family. It's not necessarily just that footage. It's all of the evidence surrounding this event, right? It starts at the UFO shooting star, which is an inexplicable event. And the event changes in perspective based on where you're located. People in Southern California saw a shooting star. People in the immediate Las Vegas, Nevada area said something fell out of the sky. We have ring cameras that show two objects coming down, one with a tail and one without a tail, right? So we have a mechanical oscillating sound with the object coming down. We have uninterested parties contemporaneously saying the same thing, from police officers to witnesses on the ground, that something fell out of the sky. And then we have the account of Angel and his family. And then we have the video of Angel and his family. And all of the evidence lines up to say this is an actual event. This really happened. And what we've done in our report is codify it and make it a part of history. Now, whether people acknowledge this event today, tomorrow, next week, 10 years from now, or 100 years from now, the event has been codified and is now able to be researched. I think that we've done our job, and that's why I'm saying case closed at this point. I've made my final opinion. This is real. It happened. Here's the evidence contained in a single 14-page report with links to all of the people that contributed to it. And, the silence is deafening at the reply from the UFO community, from the UFO disclosure advocates, reporters, historians, physics experts, so on and so forth, philosophers even, to even acknowledge it as a serious event. There you have it.
Now, it was just, I guess it was a week and a half ago or so. I was contacted by Chris Lathrop. He's a friend of the podcast as well. He's also provided a lot of information to the report that you just put together, that you just released. And I will have a link to the report in the description, your report, for people to see, which also contains information from Chris Lathrop. There's a lot of links on there too you could click on. I will have that.
Matter of fact, in the first couple of paragraphs, I give Chris credit for his extensive work in compiling the timeline of events, and his work was instrumental in laying the foundational facts for what we've been talking about, the totality of the circumstances. So great work, Chris. We thank you for your contribution, and we do give you credit in writing in the report in the very first couple of paragraphs.
I mean, this is a true grassroots effort through and through, really, when you look at it. I mean, you donated a lot of your time. I mean, you're somebody who's this isn't your job. I mean, your job is investigating crime scenes, reconstructing them, going to court, stuff like that. You just became interested in this case. It seemed like there was evidence there, and you hooked. You wanted to look into it. It seemed like those people were sincere to you as to a lot of other people, and that's one of the things that drew a lot of us into it. And now we see the fruits of looking at that has revealed that there was I guess the bottom line is this: that video, all the evidence in its totality, in your estimation, it shows that we're not alone, that there was some kind of a non-human intelligent presence in that backyard on that night.
Yeah, 100%. There's something there. There are non-human intelligence. You can pick at different words. Whether they're future humans or some kind of humanoid, I think we got to be careful in saying what kind of intelligence they are, how smart they are. I don't know, but there are entities there that are clearly not like us, that came down in this UFO and had a physical encounter with the Gomez family. That happened.
And I just want to also point out that it was just recently, about a week and a half ago, when Chris Lathrop he reached out personally to Mick West, and Mick West, he asked him if he would do an analysis on this, to try to see if he would refute it. Nobody seems to even want to step forward and try to refute this scientifically. Now, this guy's out there making statements on a regular basis on X, Twitter X, that there's no good evidence of an alien presence on Earth, when here we have something we've been talking about. People have been telling. He just made the statement again, even though people have been trying to point this out to him. Last year, when he was initially approached about this from people at Inside Edition, he said it was probably raccoons on coyotes. Obviously, that's not what it is, right?
Well, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with him over the.
We did. But we gave him a
about the
chance.
reckoning.
You actually upped the stakes just recently though over the weekend. You requested that he do it again. And so what happened when you were sending some messages back and forth privately?
Yeah.
And initially you just asked him if he would provide an analysis, see if he could try to refute the evidence that you put forth, and he refused to do that.
Yeah, well, I left him. I had never personally tried to reach out to him before, so I connected with him on Twitter. I sent him a direct message, which was a voicemail, and I basically just, my first initial introduction to him. I just introduced myself. Hey, Mick, my name's Scott Roeder. I own a company in Cleveland. We do crime scene reconstruction. We've been doing it for 30 years, and I've worked on 2,000 cases. I happen to have stumbled upon this Las Vegas case. I did an analysis over the last year. I've issued an expert report, and I would love for you to take a look at it. And then he just replied back, not interested. So I got a no one time, but I wasn't happy with just one no, right? So I replied back to him like, listen, I think you should really take a look at this case. Why don't you take 24 hours, think about it, see if you can fit it in your schedule. And then he replied back fairly quickly, no, I'm not interested. I'm sure you can find somebody else. So that's 2 no's. So then I write back to him again and I make him an offer. I was like, listen, how about I'll make you a deal. I will pay you $5,000 to review and do a critical analysis of my report. And I gave him just 3 very simple rules. Number 1, I want you to address issues of fact and agree or disagree on every issue. And item 2, if you disagree, you have to explain in detail why you disagree. And number 3, you must issue a final report with a final summary of your overall observations, basically asking him to review it in the manner in which I wrote it, to give it its due diligence and look at every element that I've issued, and then either agree or disagree. And if you disagree, tell me why. And I was like, you can keep the money, give it to charity. I don't care. I'm serious. This is a real offer. And I gave him until Sunday night at 8:00 to accept the offer by either reply or no reply. He just replied today, which is 12 hours past the due date, or 24 hours past the
24 hours.
Yeah, and he just replied today, and he said, I'll give you the exact quote. It's
I think you sent, you sent it to me.
Here, I'll give you the exact. He said, quite the opposite, because I wrote to him as like, this was my final. I said, well, thank you for your consideration. However, your refusal speaks loudly on your inability to address a real actual event, which leads me either to presume that you are deliberately ignoring it because you understand its significance, or you're just being myopic. And I don't mean to insult you, but you put yourself out there as an expert in the field, and yet you have failed to address one of the most significant UFO encounters in the last 100 years. Anyway, good luck to you and Godspeed. And then he wrote back today, quite the opposite. I don't think this is significant at all.
Well, then he should. Why? I mean, see, that's the issue I have with this guy, is that he talks a big game, but then when he gets presented with the actual evidence which we know, see, here's the issue. We know it would be hard for him. He can't refute it. I don't think anybody could refute it, and that's the reason he's staying away from it, because there's nothing he could do about it. So instead, he wants to continue on with this charade that there's nothing to this phenomena. He just because he's incapable of providing us a scientific rebuttal to this, because what's he going to say? What would it look like? I mean, it's just not going to work out for him. That's how I see it. I mean, if you're so sure that there's no alien presence on Earth, you should easily be able to look at this. But on top of it, you offer the guy $5,000. $5,000 is not something to sneeze at. I mean, that's a nice chunk of cash to do an analysis, and he would not do it. it. So that should tell everybody out there. Everybody out there should understand what just happened here. This guy is a phony. He is an absolute phony. He won't look at he was even offered money. He won't do it. You got to ask yourself a lot of questions here. There's a lot of questions a lot of the people in the UFO community should be asking themselves right now. And I think we all know what the answer is.
Well, I think, you were onto something on one of your previous shows when you said we got to start categorizing people into different, putting certain people in different categories, right? Either you're lying,
or stupid, lying or stupid.
Well,
I mean, there's a
third category. There's a third category that's oblivious.
Well, I think that falls in. I think there's such like when you really think it, if you break it down, there's different levels of stupid. There's oblivious. I mean, there's people who are tricking themselves. I mean, there's all different layers of stupidity. And then there's another one where people they know that something's going on, but they're part of the cover up for some reason, whether they're paid operatives or they're just doing it because they don't like the idea themselves. So that goes into the lying category. So there's two different because there really is no other answer here, especially after we've been talking about this for months now, for over 6 months now, I guess, since April 2nd when we had the Vindication Day show. And then we have more evidence now too. We have the undeniable backbreaker that I've been talking about a lot. I mean, that's a little gray alien. There's no explanation for it, right? And here you have these so-called experts that think they know, that tell everyone they know what they're talking about. And when they were even offered money to look at this hard, cold cash, they won't even provide an analysis because you know why? Because it would cause their entire their entire debunker construct to completely collapse. That would just they would be defeating themselves. So that's why he's not doing this. That's my opinion. I don't know.
You know what Plato said. Those who are able to see beyond the shadows and lies of their culture will never be understood, let alone believed by the masses.
Yeah. Well, here's what's going to happen, though. What's going to happen is as over time, and this is my suspicion. I mean, anybody who would be to sit down, any logical thinking person who would sit down and just absorb all of the data that has been put together with this case, right? They would look at it all, and the only conclusion at the end would be right is that these were creatures in that backyard, and it proves finally this is the absolute proof that people have been like all these other cases that none of them really ever had something like this, right? They never offered this level of evidence. This one surpasses everything, and anybody who's a logically thinking person will look at this and know it's over. And then they're going to look at these other people that refuse to provide any sort of they won't even try other than to say, like there was the one guy who was Louis Cayetano, another debunker, was saying just basically all he could do is call people names. He can't provide any scientific refutation. He doesn't have the brains for it. So instead, what does he do? I mean, that this is what they've been doing. Debunkers have been acting like this for decades. This is how they do. They make their they basically everything is via proclamation. And if you can't attack the data, you attack the person, the messenger, the person who has it. In this case, Mick West won't even touch it. He just says he basically was it was a sanctimonious answer as far as I was concerned that he gave you. I mean, he said something to the effect of that he feels like he would be taking advantage of you.
Yeah,
that's a joke.
I mean, I think that's just ego and pride, and that's fine. Listen, we were giving it a shot because we wanted to get some real, sharp criticism on the details, right?
Yes.
And, this kind of reminds me of kind of a magic trick that the debunker and the UFO disclosure community are playing. And I almost feel like the debunker community, the skeptic community, and the UFO advocate disclosure community are kind of on the same team in a way. Like, I'll give you an example. The recent big story that just came out about Operation Constellation or whatever, Immaculate Constellation.
Immaculate Constellation.
Right. And the missing Malaysian flight, that Ashton guy that has been touting, Ashton Forbes. Yeah. Those are very similar. Okay. So in one instance, we've got Ashton Forbes out there saying he's got footage of the Malaysian air flight from 2 separate military, government cameras showing these orbs flying in, 3 orbs flying in around the space, around the airplane, and then the airplane just vanishes. It warps out. And then now we've got this immaculate constellation where we've got 3 orbs around a jet, right? Around a jet fighter. So isn't it interesting that they want you to believe that the immaculate constellation is real, but they don't want you to believe what Ashton Forbes is telling you is real. They want you to believe that the Tic Tac is real, but they don't want you to even look at the Las Vegas case. So to me, it's kind of like a sleight of hand.
Yeah, I mean, it seems everyone has their own agendas. I mean, when it comes to the Ashton Forbes stuff, like to me, right? I mean, it's very compelling. I watched some of his videos.
Yeah.
Again, it's not the Vegas case. I mean, no, I mean, you can't. There's things you can't prove. There's certain things like when certain cases that you don't know where the video comes from. Like it's like it's like that Skinny Bob video. I don't know. If
no, I agree. I agree with you. You're right. This is unique because we've authenticated the video from its original source and have contemporaneous notes from the people in the video in real time that is confirmed by uninterested parties with contemporaneous observations happening simultaneously, being released into the public simultaneously, all being documented in the news live as it happens. That's why this is special, because there was no delay between the event and the original material and contemporaneous simultaneous evidence commingling at the same time for accurate observation. That's why this case is special, because we have authentication of the video and nobody has disagreed. Matter of fact, we have debunkers and skeptics who have agreed that the video is authentic and unmolested in any way.
I just want to bring, and that's an interesting point here to bring up, is the fact that Mick West has no problem, right? He has no problem trying to debunk the Ashton Forbes stuff, the Malaysia flight stuff, right? He has no problem going after that because he knows Ashton just doesn't have enough. He just doesn't have enough to take his hypothesis. He just doesn't have enough to take him over the finish line, right?
I think he's got a great hypothesis.
He has a great hypothesis.
It's just not to a degree,
and that's
beyond a reasonable doubt.
There's
a little doubt there because
makes it easier.
There's a little bit of doubt there because you can't authenticate the origin of the video. You can say that the video may be real, but you can't say who filmed it. Yeah, because that's secret, because there's national secrets involved, there's national security involved, and whenever there's secrets and national security involved, there's always going to be a level of plausible deniability because it's national security. But this does not involve national security because, as far as I know, Angel's mom was not part of some government operation. Therefore, there's no national security around this event. Therefore, it can be authenticated.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There could be with the other stuff, like he'll go debunk that. He'll try to debunk the gimbal because you just don't have enough evidence with regards to those. So it's easier to do. He won't go after the Vegas one. He won't even try because he knows it's over. He can't do it. And that tells us everything we need to know.
Well, we have a clean chain of custody. It's very important. Let's talk about chain of custody. Okay. In any case, let's say an individual gets arrested for suspicion of homicide, okay? And evidence is collected at the scene. A gun, a shell casing, blood has been documented. There's hair, there's a bloody footprint, whatever, fingerprints. When the police come in, and they document that evidence, they put it in a bag, they seal the bag, they tape up the bag, and then they sign it. That preserves chain of custody. right? And then that evidence is then given to the prosecutor, and then that prosecutor brings that bag into the courtroom and holds it up in front of the jury and says, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is the gun that was used to kill this man. And on this gun are fingerprints and that match this man. The chain of custody is unmolested, right? That's what we have in this case. In those other cases with the gimbal and the go fast and the tic tac, we don't have that chain of custody because, one, it was sitting for a decade, and then two, it went through I don't know how many hands of government secret officials before it gets leaked to the news through, I think, very suspicious means, and very conveniently, and then it gets released. There's no chain of custody for those videos, but here we have chain of custody, and that's very important. That's what makes it unique.
Right. And not only that, I mean, when you look, the more we look at that video and the more things you find, the more amazing things that you realize that there was no way. I mean, I knew a long time ago it couldn't have been hoaxed, but I mean, it's just fascinating. You would think actually it would be the opposite right now. You would think that the scientific community would be, oh my gosh, finally we do have something that's solid evidence here that shows that there's something here. We should be studying this and trying to figure out what was happening in that backyard. Instead, we get the opposite. I'm not interested. Oh, here's $5,000 to analyze. Oh, no. Oh, I don't want to take advantage of you.
It reminds me of the movie Field of Dreams, where Kevin Costner builds a baseball field, and but the writer gets to go back, gets invited to go back. James Earl Jones gets to go back into the corn to see where the players come from, and Ray Kinsella, Kevin Costner's, he's like, I want to see what's out there. Get me, I want to go back there. And look, but you're not invited. He's like, I did everything you asked me to do. I built the field. I listened to the voices. I believed in the magic. And I have never asked what was in it for me. And then he says to him, well, what are you trying to say? Well, what's in it for me? I think that's where these guys are coming from. They don't want to deal with this case because they can't see anything that's in it for them.
There you go.
That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, it could be. I mean, the thing about it is, what's in it for them is once people start accepting this story. Because I think anybody, like I said, anyone logically looks at this, they're going to walk away and say, oh, "Yep, obviously that proves it." So they don't want to do that because that goes against everything they've been trying to tout all these years. It makes them look like they're the phonies and liars that they really are. So why would they want to expose themselves? That's why he won't do it. I mean, why would you accept $5,000 to expose yourself and show the world? I guess I was wrong. I think that's what it is. I mean, could be.
You might be right, but if you were a person who took, for one, the smartest person out there is the one that's willing to admit they don't know what they don't know, right? Or when new evidence comes along that proves this versus that, well, you accept that new evidence, right? You have to change your worldview based on evidence. And if you see compelling evidence that something's real, you should acknowledge it if you are a fair arbiter in your field. But if you're a grifter, or you're just looking to make money, or you're looking to do an operation, psychological or financial or otherwise, then I guess you have ulterior motives as to what it is you want to touch. But if you're just looking at the truth and is it real, is it not real? Listen, I'm still going to work today. Just because this is real doesn't mean you have to stop your world. It's real. It happened. We've got proof of it. And also, I'm still watching the baseball game. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. But I guess you just have to accept evidence of what the reality says. And listen, I think that the evidence here is overwhelming. Otherwise, I wouldn't have issued a report.
And speaking of that, I mean, it's not just people like me or Steve Diner, or you've been talking with about this. There's other people you've been talking with about this case, and now there's a show going to be on Japanese television, from what I understand.
Yeah. Actually, I'm very excited about that. I recorded it about a week and a half ago. It's a show called Incredible. It's the longest running show on network television in Japan. It's been on the air for like 30 years. And they're doing a 2-hour special. I think the interview that I did about this case is going to be 1 hour of that 2-hour special, and it airs tonight in Japan. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm actually reason I can't be on video today is I'm packing. I'm getting ready to go. I'm leaving for Australia, and then after, because I've got another homicide investigation I'm doing over there, and I just did one earlier this year in Australia, which turned out very successfully. And then on my way back from Australia, I'm going to be hitting Japan. I'm going to be going to Tokyo and meeting with those folks in the studio and having a little vacation in Tokyo. So, arigato, my friends in Japan. I'm coming soon.
So they were very interested in this case. So you talked to them on a Zoom call about this. So I expect that's what the show was going to be about the Vegas case, or is it about more than just that?
No, it's just the Vegas case. They thought it was very interesting that a crime scene expert who has nothing to do with UFOs has issued a report, basically proving that we are not alone based on this case and the totality of evidence. So I went over my entire report with them, my observations, my findings, the technology we used. It was a full comprehensive 1-hour interview about this case in detail, and their network news is airing that show tonight. So I'm very excited about that.
So they're going to have images, I'm assuming, from the video and pictures and stuff.
Yeah, they're playing the whole video, the whole raw video, and then they're playing all the different reconstructions that I did, and showing the images that were found. They have a different format, so they record it and then they play it live to a studio audience with a panel of experts, or maybe not experts, but a panel of like people. Like it could be like a baseball player, a model, or a spokesperson, whatever. They'll have like a panel of celebrities that will watch the show live, and then they have call-ins from the audience. So it's pretty interesting. They do TV a little differently in Japan. So, but this was like the in the can footage that they get to evaluate live on the air.
And then you're going to do a follow-up show with them, I guess, when you go there. Or is that what's going to? That's what's.
Well, I'm meeting with them again while I'm going to be there, but I'm basically using that as an excuse for a vacation in Tokyo.
Well, that sounds like fun. Well, see, I mean, there's people all over the world taking this seriously, and unfortunately, there are debunkers of the world. They don't want to talk about it, and they are incapable of talking about it, obviously. And then you're someone. I mean, look at your background. You've been doing this crime scene reconstruction stuff for what, 30 years? Over 30 years?
Yeah, 30 years. I mean, I started my company in 2001. We've got almost 2,000 cases under our belt. Under evidence room. And then, prior to that, I worked for an additional 8 years in the field at different levels, working up my way up the food chain until I got to where I'm at. So, we've been doing this a long time, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. Listen, I am not retiring from crime scenes to go chase UFOs. That's why I'm calling this report case closed. I've issued my opinion. The event is real. We've codified it. It's part of history. And, it's being submitted for peer review. I've got it out to a group of attorneys for review. I'm submitting it to the University of Liverpool for a review. And also we're submitting it to the University of Louisville, Kentucky for review. I've also got it out with, in the public sphere. So anybody can review it. And we're going to try to get it published. If it gets accepted for publication, then I think that's a big hurdle for this case being officially part of history.
And another thing I would like to point that people should be, obviously you've made no money doing this. This is not like some kind of a
None.
none. You've lost money doing it. Initially, these analyses for me, it was all, on your own.
I've never asked for a penny on this case. I think that's what pisses people off a little bit, is that this is not a for-profit operation. There is no non-disclosure agreement in place. This is a crowdsource. There's been a lot of people out there that have helped out. A lot of people that are interested. Listen, man, I think we did a good job. I'm proud of the work that we've done.
Yeah, yeah, that was another thing. You never, required me to sign a non-disclosure agreement before I brought.
Come on, come on.
Yeah, some people want to do
That guy
that for
think you
some
were
reason.
born. Did that guy think you were born yesterday?
I think he did.
I mean,
I think I'll
jeez.
tell you what. There's some people out there. Let me tell you. I can't talk about it yet, but at some point I'm going to talk about it. There's been some trickery going on behind the scenes. I can say that.
Yeah.
They think they're smart. They are. They are smart. I'll give them some credit, but not smart enough. Not smart enough. But yeah, I gotta say, yeah, you've been doing this for a long time, and you've made. In fact, you just offered Mick West $5,000, and he said
Yeah.
no, and you were serious.
He,
You were absolutely
yeah.
serious, and he said no.
Absolutely serious. Yeah. I mean, listen, that's not a small amount of money. I'm not a
No,
wealthy guy. I'm a working
no.
class stiff like everybody else out there, guys. I just happen to have a different kind of job, but 5 grand was about the amount of money I felt like, okay, it was worth it to me for that investment if I could get his eyeball on it in a serious way. But he doesn't think that this is a serious event, which I think is dishonest because I
It's
think he knows this
dishonest.
is a serious event.
He knows it is. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, what could be happening, what should be happening here, if this world was, if people were all completely righteous and everything, right, like that. If it was like that, then what he would be doing is, okay, I'll take your $5,000, I'll look at it, I'll give it a serious analysis,
Yeah.
and then when he would walk away from it, he would say, yes, obviously there's anomalies there, and I have no explanation for it. But he doesn't want to do that because he doesn't want to say there's anomalies there that he has no explanation for, and he can't account for any of this. He can't do
He's
it.
picking. Yeah. Listen, we call
Picks and chooses, picks and chooses. And that's the thing.
no, he's picking the low fruit. Picking the low fruit.
Right.
He's what do they call that? He's creaming it. He's just taking the cream off the top. He's picking the low fruit. He's taking the easy stuff. Like for example, I saw him do a debunking of George Knapp's new Netflix
I talked
movie
about that.
trailer. Yeah. But wait, he debunked the trailer. He didn't debunk the movie didn't come out yet. He was debunking the trailer. Like talk about picking low-hanging fruit. You're debunking the trailer. Out of context, it's a trailer. It's a 30-second trailer that he was debunking. Why don't you wait for the whole thing to come out, evaluate it in its entirety? I'm not saying he's right or he's wrong. I don't know anything about what George Knapp's Netflix series is about. I'm sure maybe there's some good stuff in there. Maybe there's some questionable stuff in there. Maybe they do some ancient aliens type stuff in there where like, if this is true, then this must be true. The whole if but come then argument, which is entertaining, but that's not necessarily scientific.
But we just don't know yet.
And well, yeah, there's a lot of if but then come, right? Transitionary statements in between their conclusions, but I think you got to wear large medallions. Certainly, if you're going to be on the Ancient Aliens show, you have to have a large medallion.
I don't
on
think
a
that
necklace.
George doesn't usually do that stuff. I don't think he's more talking about more recent stuff. But I mean, like your point, like the point is here is that I mean, that's the best you could. This is what you're going to do. You're going to debunk trailers before you even watch it. I mean, I mean that's
low hanging fruit.
It's not even. But again, like by staying away from this, I mean, I guess the bottom line here is this: the big news here today, what we're talking about, is the fact that Mick West was offered $5,000 from Scott Roeder to analyze the Las Vegas alien video, and he won't do it. He says, he doesn't want to take advantage of Scott Roeder here. Oh, that's what he said. Now, I think what just happened here, folks, this should tell you everything you need to know about Mick West and the rest of these debunkers. They're disingenuous. They like Scott says, it's the low hanging fruit. That he could sit there all day and argue with someone like Marek von Rennenkamp about the gimbal video, right? He could sit there and do a critique on a trailer of something he didn't even see yet. He could sit there and argue with Ashton Forbes about the Malaysia flight video. He'll do those kind of things because he knows in the end there's just not enough information one way or the other to say what exactly happened here. What exactly happened? There's just not enough information. But this one does have that information, and that's why he stays away from it. That's why all of the debunkers stay away from it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that for the most part, you're right on the money. So it's just too bad for them. This is an opportunity to get on the right side of history. I think the further we get away from this event, the more clear it even becomes. Now, we've also started a legal maneuver to obtain the footage in the backyard by the police officer's camera that they've said that they are not releasing because of at the request of the property owner.
Right.
But we don't believe that to be the case. So we actually have some lawyers that are working on trying to get that footage released through FOIA or other means.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's more. There's actually, I mean, that's the best. That's the great part about this stuff. This is one of the best things about this case, Scott, is the fact that we have enough stuff right now that it shows. But there's actually could be more here that we could actually throw in if we get the other evidence that's been withheld. So, I mean, but we don't even need the family to do an interview because they've already done enough interviews. The proof is right in their video. What else do we need? I mean, I would love to get more information from them, but the bottom line is there's so much to this that we already have it. Nothing else is actually needed, but the more the better. I would love to see more because it's so fascinating.
Well, let's talk about this. I did speak with Angel.
Yes.
And he did give his family because he's still a minor. He might be 18 now, I'm not sure, but he's a kid. But their family through their lawyer worked or sanctioned the participation of us on the Japanese television show. And I was told through their attorney's office that they no longer want to be on camera or give any interviews about this case ever again. They have moved. They no longer live at the premises because I think of things that happened after this event. They experienced what I guess the only thing you could call it, like some kind of a haunting after the event. And I think that's where some people are going to be like, oh, well, no, now I can't get on board with this case because now, but if you look at the books of other UFO historians,
it happens.
They say
that activity.
High strangeness.
I had my own opinion about that. I had my opinion was the fact was that what it could have been some sort of an alien psyop of some kind. That they're deliberately. Because they realize that they screwed up that night, and so okay, what we'll do is we'll take advantage of the fact that these people are religious, and we'll make the Bible pages turn. We'll make the crucifix hover in the sky in the air, and then with the hope that they'll go out and tell people publicly. Half the people will think that they're lying now, and the other half of the people will think, oh, it must be demonic, and that kills two birds with one stone. So I mean, to me, right? I don't know. That's just a hypothesis. I don't know, but the bottom line is it doesn't matter.
Well, I don't even think we need to make a hypothesis on what happened to them after the event. We can just take their word for it.
Yes.
Because they've been absolutely 100% honest about what happened and about what was captured on film, right?
Yes.
That's been proven. They are not liars.
No.
Now, they've proven themselves to be honest. So why would they, for any reason, start lying now?
They wouldn't.
They moved away from this. They moved away from this house because they were experiencing things that they were not comfortable with. They didn't know what was going on. Uh, they were scared, uh, and they were experiencing circumstances of high strangeness. And that's too bad. And I feel bad that they had to go through, those experiences to the point where they left.
Yeah.
They moved away.
They said
they moved away.
They had priests come over the house to try to bless it and everything. And so, but that's what they came to the conclusion then that this was all demonic. That was their, that's what they're saying. But, here's the thing: whatever happened after the fact, no matter what, right? And I believe totally that they experienced this, right? Because I don't think these people would lie about something like this, right? Because it doesn't matter though, because we have the evidence of what happened previous. We have the proof that the
Right.
evidence is there. It backs up everything that they said, and even more so. I mean, because they were only talking about, when you think about it, they were talking about 8 to 10 feet tall creatures. And an examination of that video, as you know, shows that it looks like there was more things there than just those two things. So everything is checked with these people, and there was absolutely no reason why they would be making any of this stuff up. And the UFO literature is filled with stories where people have see a UFO and or occupants and then experience poltergeist-like activities at their house. It's just
Right.
throughout the UFO literature. It's just something that happens. We don't have any explanation for it.
No, I mean the fact that this is so bizarre that they're having hauntings or weird things happen after the event makes it even more real, because the history, like you said, real events come with bizarre circumstances, and this is certainly a bizarre circumstance post event, to the point where they wanted to leave and they left. And and also they're probably I'm sure they probably know now, but there's something in the UFO phenomena field called the hitchhiker effect. A lot of people have talked about it, where if you experience this, it can follow you, right? Or it can, it can then happen to people that or whatever. So maybe they're just trying to get away from that, and they don't want to experience this. I tell you what, I've never had a UFO experience or an alien encounter experience. I know you have. I don't want one. I'm not looking for one. And and who knows how you would how anybody would react if it happens to you. You got to think to yourself, what would you do in this situation? What would you do?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know what you do. Actually, I mean, everybody's going to be different, and it depends on what stage of life you're in and all that kind. If you're a little kid, you're going to act one way. If you're an adult, if you're a young man in your 20s, you're going to act another way. I mean, there's so many different factors that go into these things. And I don't know. I mean, to me, right, I think that they acted, I mean, I don't know. They probably were thinking there were monsters in their yards I mean, they walked back there with guns. I mean, I didn't know what they were. They probably didn't know what was going on at first. It wasn't until they probably didn't think about aliens until right after it was all over with, when they called the police, because they couldn't figure out what else it could have been. I don't know.
Which goes into, I think, I was going to have a fun episode, and this is a shout out to Gray Owl out there, because Gray Owl, wherever you are, buddy, come on back to us. He's a good guy. Gray Owl up there in Canada. Him and I were talking on the phone one time, just kind of joking around, but like, alien safety tips. What happens if you come face to face with a non-human intelligence? I don't think a gun is gonna work, because I think these things I don't feel like they react like that. But the family, they went out there. I think 3 of the 4 had guns. 2 of them had the guns unholstered. I know one gun was out by the younger brother. But when they came in contact with this alien being, the last thing that they decided, nobody pulled their gun and tried to shoot the thing. They reacted with what I think most people would do, is get out of there. What is that? Oh my God, let's get out of there. And they probably did the right thing. Imagine what would have happened if all 3 of them would have pulled their guns and started shooting.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
what would happen then?
I don't know. They didn't even I mean, they never even You never see not one of them lifted up the gun at all to fire at this thing. They got whatever that thing that we saw chasing around, that scared them so badly that they just ran out of the yard. And you could hear the fear. You could hear like, ooh. It's like when you touch a spider or something lands on you. I mean, that's that sound. It was a deep fear that you could hear coming from them.
Yeah, they were shocked. I mean, if there was like a man in their backyard that was threatening them or had a gun on them, I bet you they would have pulled their guns and shot.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
Or if there was like a bear or a wolf or a wild dog started chasing after them or something like that, then you're going to pull your gun and you're going to shoot. You're not going to run in the other direction. I've seen cases where people in California are hiking in the mountains and they get stalked by a mountain lion. The first thing you're not turning and running away from a mountain lion, because then it will chase you and eat you, right? And if you have a gun, you're going to shoot it into the ground and try to scare the mountain lion away. You're not getting ontological shock from a mountain lion. You're gonna freeze, and if you have a weapon, you're going to shoot, right? But the last thing you do is going to turn your back on a mountain lion and run. The last thing you're going to do. You don't run from a wild animal. They will chase you and eat you. Don't run from a bear. They will chase you and eat you. The only thing you do with an animal is you stand your ground and you get loud and you get big. And if you have a weapon, you use it. But these clearly were not animals. Clearly, these were not raccoons. Clearly, this was something that the Gomez family simultaneously said, our weapons are no good here. Let's get out.
Yeah.
That was their reaction.
Yep. And good thing too. Good thing for them, because who knows what would have happened.
Who knows?
Could have been a disaster for them. But hey, maybe not. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. We'll never know. That's the thing.
Yeah, I don't think guns work. I think if you encounter a hostile non-human intelligence, I think your best bet is like a taser or like a high beam flashlight or a laser pointer or maybe skunk spray or bear spray. I don't think bullets are going to scare them, but I think if you could, electricity might bother them. I think smell might bother them. I think light might bother them. Certainly these things don't walk around freely in the daytime, and they're very much nocturnal because most of the alien encounters happen at night in rural areas without much light, right? Which goes to, I think, from a biological standpoint, support your theory of like an insect or bug or something like that, because they have the big eyeballs. And the bigger your eyeball means you're designed to operate in low light, right? So the smaller your eyeball, you're able to operate in the daylight. But if you have giant eyeballs, you're a nighttime creature. Why do you think an owl has such huge eyeballs? Is because they operate at night, right? These aliens, they seem to operate at night. So I think if you come in contact with a hostile alien, I think shining the light on them will deter them potentially, I think, more so than a gun.
Maybe. I don't know. Now there was.
It's just
you hear cases.
A thought.
It's a thought. That's a good thought, actually. You hear cases. There was a case, I think, in the late 70s at a military base in New Jersey where allegedly an alien got shot out on a runway or something. I talked about it a long time ago, but I mean, we don't know if that's true or not. I mean, the thing is that maybe they could be killed under the right circumstances, shot, but we just don't know. We don't know what would have happened in that situation. I mean, they were using they had some sort of a cloaking ability that they were using that night. Obviously, I mean, who knows? For all we know, maybe they might have been in different parts of the yard and they were projecting that or something. We have no idea exactly what was happening there. We can't explain it. All we could say is that there were creatures there, just like as described by the witnesses. That's what we could say. And they were exhibiting some sort of abilities that really make no sense and are hard to really classify, actually. I don't know if it could be a mixture of time dilation and cloaking, or who knows, maybe something else we're not even aware of. But there are just things happening in that video defy explanation. And if they would have started shooting, who knows what would have happened? I mean, there have been reports of people trying to shoot at them and the bullets just stopping in midair. There was that guy in the early 70s, Carl Higdon, was going to shoot an elk or something, and the bullet just stopped and hit something and dropped on the ground. And there was an alien there, and he got taken away. And it was a big story. He got abducted, and then they brought him back. But there's weird stories like this. But I mean, who knows we just don't have any answers. All we could say is that there was something in that yard, and that's all we could really say.
I think there's a couple of things that we can also garner from their behavior. One, I think that it's clear to me that the aliens, and we'll just call them aliens, let's just call them ETs, that these ETs were not there by design. Okay, I think that this was an accidental stopover for some reason. I don't know why. We can hypothesize, but I don't think that the aliens wanted to be there or knew they were going to be there. And two, they certainly did not want to be bothered. And I think the aliens' behavior suggests not necessarily hostility, but they certainly didn't want contact any further than they already had been noticed. Yeah. Because I think their behavior was designed to do exactly what happened, which was to create space to give them time to get out.
Yeah.
That's all I feel like I think I can deduce from the behavior.
Yeah. That's you're right. I think that's my first idea too, is that they were just trying to stave them off until they got the time to get out of there, however they were ever able to accomplish that, we don't know. But I guess what we could say here today, Scott, is it's been over 6 months now since you initially made that presentation. We had that Vindication Day show. And to this point, over 6 months now, no one, people from the UFO community, no one, some people say they don't believe it and all that kind of stuff, but none of them, nobody has ever put up any sort of scientific refutation that shows us that maybe what we're saying happened didn't happen. So everyone out there should just know that the reality is confirmed now. There's aliens on this planet, and no one's been able to refute it to this point. Mick West was offered $5,000 to look at this. He won't take it. He won't even bother to analyze it. Instead, he's going to keep talking about the gimbal and the Malaysia flight. He'll talk about those things, right? But he won't look at this because there's nothing he can say. The government hasn't responded to this point to a letter that I sent in early June. They still haven't responded. What are they going to say? No scientists, no one in the UFO community has provided any sort of scientific rebuttal to this that would at all. Nobody, no debunker, nobody in the science, no scientist, no one. Scott Roeder is an expert in this. He's been in crime scene reconstructions and video analysis. He's been looking into this. He's been doing this work for over 30 years. He's put forward his report now. Nobody has been able to refute it. Nobody. So there you go. It's been proven there are aliens on this planet. What do you think, Scott?
Undefeated.
Yep. There it is. It's over. It's disclosure not from the government, but from just grassroots efforts out there. It's over. Nobody could refute this. They can't do it. It's been over 6 months. We've got nothing.
Listen, the proof is in the pudding. Jim, I sent you a copy of the report. I authorize you to send it out on your channel. Steve Diner has put it out on his channel. It's out there in the public sphere. I'll let the work speak for itself at this point. And for me, on this case closed.
All right, Scott. Well, I want to say thank you very much, Scott, for showing up today and talking about this and taking the time to do this. And thank you for providing the report. I will leave a link in the description for anyone who wants to check out Scott's report. But I think this wraps it up as far as anyone should be concerned. It has now been proven that we are not alone on this planet, and that there is indeed some sort of a non-human intelligence / extraterrestrial presence here with us. With that said, I want to say thank you all for joining us today. Until next time.